Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Sensational Designs and Creations. I'm your host, Jen with one N, and in today's episode, we're going to tackle anything and everything DTF. So if you're curious at all about DTF, all the pros and all of the cons, this is the video for you. So stick around, guys. First off, let's start with the actual printer itself. This is the DSV L1800, and this was purchased off of Amazon. I will be honest with you, when I got this on a deal. It is a little bit less than $3,000, but with shipping, it will probably pull it right to that $3,000 mark. When I bought this was actually a free shipping promotion, guys. So I got this just at the price point that it was, which was no extra fees. I don't know how I lucked out. Looks like it's still in promotion, guys, so I'm going to post the link below so you guys can get the same deal I did. I do feel that this is a really great starter printer for anybody who's looking to get into DTF but doesn't know where to go. This printer is not meant to be, I feel, turned off. At least that's the way that most people advertise this. They claim that when you turn it off and you turn it off for too long, yes, that it can clog and it can do all of these other things to the wires. I will tell you, as you can see here, this machine is not on and it has not been on for days. There is a process that I do in regards to turning this off and on and how to get it to work properly. So let's go ahead and show you, first off, how this printer works. I'm going to show you all the different things that come on this. Right here is your black, I would say, tray that has to be laid down in front of this other black piece. It does not connect or anything. There is holes here, but I looked into it and there is no connecting for it. But the reason for it is that if the paper comes out and this is not here, the paper will now drag down, which in turn will smear the ink. So when you put this in front, this comes with it, it now comes out in a very smooth, like straight pattern. On your side here is where all of your inks are. So if you lift this up, you have your cyan, your red, your white, your black, and your yellow. Front has a bunch of different buttons. On the front, the buttons is your main power button. This button is where you would go if you are out of paper. It will blink and then you can go ahead and hit that and let it know that it has paper again. This one is if you are doing any projects and you see any mess ups and you want to delete the project, you want to stop this from printing, you just press and hold this in for a couple of minutes and then it will eventually stop and refeed out the paper. And then this guy here, I'll be honest with you, I haven't experienced this yet too much myself. I'm going to go with this is to tell you that the ink is out, and probably one of the reasons why I've never experienced this is because my ink's never out. Down here you're going to see all the different ways that you can set the temperature. So once this is turned on, you can see that there's a set button and you can turn it up and down. They recommend that you leave this at 35 degrees. So when you see it lit up, the little red light does go away, and that's how you know it's ready to go. So yeah, so this piece in the back is for the tray. I always keep mine upright. I don't have it touching my wall. It's just shy of touching the wall. But in the case that you don't want to get any like hairs or dust or debris inside, you can keep it closed up whenever not in use. All right, the back side of the printer, guys, has the area where your cord goes. This goes into the back of the printer and then hooks up to your laptop that you're using. It has the power switch, the power cord, and then in the middle here is the waste ink. So you can see how far that sticks out there. Not too far, but the waste ink with the tube, all of this comes with it. Here's an overall view, once again, guys, of the printer. All right, table that I have this printer on to take up less space in my room, but this is from IKEA. and it's perfect sizing, guys, for this printer. Cons. Let's get right into our first con about this printer, guys. The ink area. What I have found. One day I came home and I went to go turn on my printer here, and I noticed that from me opening up the lid before and closing it, it snagged the wire for the white in the little crevice here, okay? So right here, sticking out of the crevice, was a pinched white tube for the ink. Sure enough, what happened? I had ink all over my desk. Now, it wasn't this desk, it was my old desk. All over my desk, all on the ground. Pretty much, it undid itself here from the pressure, and I guess just sprayed ink everywhere. And I was like, okay. Now, it was very easy to clean up, which was a good thing, but just letting you guys know, it does leak very often. Let me show you what I mean. Look at this. Like, holy smokes, guys. Down the bottom is all ink. So, I will tell you, when I moved my printer from the other table to this table, I luckily did not have ink all underneath here, which is what I thought I would have had. But I also will tell you, I have not yet taken a rag and went like this to see if it's spilling out underneath and just sitting there. But yeah, this leaks horribly like this. Now, you might see this already and be like, yeah, I'm done, I'm good. But I'm going to start telling you some of the pros and how you can make some money off this bad boy. So one of the things that I do is when I open this up, and I have to utilize this for any reason, because before you do any prints, you do have to shake as well. So that's another thing that I'll get into. I make sure that when I go to close this, you can see here that everything is tucked away and that nothing is sticking out. I feel back here cord-wise. You want to make sure that nothing gets stuck. I'll show you another con. This is new for me, so I think I have something wrong with my printer, I will tell you guys, than somebody else has. I left my printer on for a couple days in a row, and the white ink circulation obviously was going, and I woke up to this. This is a pile of white ink. I noticed that something was wrong because my white ink was just filled up and it felt very empty. So I was like, whoa, what's going on? So I do believe my piece here might be leaking, but once again, I decided to avoid this by just turning off the printer altogether. I can troubleshoot this by calling customer service and sending over pictures and seeing what it is, but me personally, I'm not too alarmed yet. It's not getting any bigger. It's just kind of staying right where it is, so I'm okay with that. So another con will be that whenever you go, before you go to turn this on, you have to shake your inks. They say to shake your inks for like up to a full minute. Some say even 3 minutes. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is what I do and it works fine. Before I turn on the printer, I take out each ink and notice how I'm carefully shaking it so that I'm not pulling the cords too tight, okay? Too hard. I'm just gonna shake it around. Shake, 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 shake. And I put it back in, okay? I've seen people who shake it differently. This one's gonna need a refill, which is the only color I have left, the magenta. I've seen people shake them like this. I guess that's okay. That doesn't do it for me. So I take, and I shake, shake, shake. I'm almost out of white too, but I think I should have plenty of space. I really make sure I'm shaking it good. I do not shake it for the full amount of time that it says, because this should be plenty. But you want to make sure you're shaking it good, just because you want to make sure you get all the ink off the bottom. Okay, and then last but not least, that should be good. All right, once again, what I just teach you, make sure that all of your wires are really down in before you close that. All right, guys, so now that the ink is shook, we can go ahead and we can turn on the printer. Backside here is the printer. You want to flip the switch. Once you flip the switch, this bad boy turns on. It does have some light ups down here, which is pretty cool. We are going to do some printouts today. I have some orders I have to fulfill, so we're going to use this as a test. What I do is once this hits 35 degrees, remember guys, this is easy to set. All you do is push in the set button and then you just move it up and down. I'm not going to mess with that because I think that's pretty easy to figure out. Once this hits 35 degrees, this red light will go out. You'll see in a second. And once it does, then I go ahead and power on the entire machine. And there you go. So now let's go ahead and turn on the entire machine. I'm gonna lift this up so you guys can see how this looks on the inside. Now another con is that I get a lot of ink right over here on this side. So in order to clean that, I use a little bit of alcohol. It is very tough to do. You have to make sure that this ink wells are not in the way. But this is what we got. It's heated up, it's warmed up, but it's not gonna be ready to print. Why? Because I had it off for so long. If I go ahead and print something out right now, it is not going to produce all of the ink colors. And I'll go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so I grabbed myself a piece of scrap paper. This is the film that I use. Always want to make sure you're using the right side. So sometimes how I can tell how the right side is I give a good little scratch somewhere. And once you see that the majority of the film coating comes off, that's how you know you're on the right spot. Okay, now watch, if I try to do that on this side, nothing really comes off. Okay, so this is the printing side then, just by doing that. This is the printing side. We're going to go ahead and put this in with the printing side facing up. Remember, this is adjust. You just hold in here and it moves in and out really easily. So I'm gonna adjust this. It's kind of, there we go. I have it in there. Now, obviously this paper is not even. It doesn't matter, this is just for scraps, guys. Let's go ahead and hook up our laptop and we'll show you how we do all of that just to get this going with the printing. The laptop all opened up, ready to go. Let me just log in. Now, you do need, here's another con to having this printer. You do need some sort of Windows-based computer in order to run this printer. I just bought a cheap laptop off of Amazon for about, I think it was like $300 or $400. I can't believe it, guys. This laptop is actually cheaper now than when I got it. Go snag this up before it's too late. In order for the printer to even work, to do a test run to see how much the ink is printing out right now, you have to make sure that you take that cord that was in the back of the printer and you connect it. It's a USB, you connect it to your computer. It will not work without this. Another con about this printer is that depending on the type of computer or laptop that you have, for example, I hate using laptop mouse pads, so I'm old school. I prefer a wireless mouse. I need to have a lot of USB ports. So since we already have, I have only 2 USB ports on this entire laptop, which means one's already being used on this side by the printer itself. And I need another one for the wireless mouse, and I need another one. They give you this. This is called the dongle. This is what you would use in order to use your software for the printer. So you need all of these hooked up in order to print. So I had to go buy from Amazon. I bought a port that actually has space for SD cards and has 2 extra USB ports, which I love. So this actually just plugs into my USB over here. And guys, this is compatible also, look at this, with your C ports. So I have a Google Pixel, so this is awesome for that, and your iPhones. I love this because with me making videos on YouTube and editing them, I now no longer have to use my phone storage. When I'm done with this on my GoPro, I'll be able to take the memory card and pop it into here and then pop this into my phone and then start the editing process, which is just awesome. It's not taking up any space on my phone, which I absolutely love. This comes with a program. It's called Acro Rip. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to open that up. When we open this program up, this is actually a lot simpler to use than what you think. There is one thing about this though that's really, really tough, and it's the color area. And we are going to get very detailed about this area and how I figured out tips and tricks in order to use it. But we need to get this printing properly first, guys. So remember what I was telling you. When you first get this and you have it shut down for a couple of days and you need to restart it back up, what do you got to do? You have to shake the inks first. Then you turn it on in the back. You wait for it to get to 35 degrees on the front, and then you turn it on the front. Once it's turned on, what you want to do, you can right click and you can go to head cleaning. I'm going to show you what happens before you do a head cleaning. So let's just do a nozzle check now and see. You're going to hit yes. And let's go ahead over to the machine and take a look at that. It's going to take the film and it's going to do a nozzle check. It's going to show us what it's printing. Remember, half of the inks are going to be missing because we did not do a head cleaning yet. Now, because I'm using a scrap piece of paper, I can hear that it's done. I know that my paper's right here. I just gotta put my hand in a little bit and pull it out. If I leave this on here, you can see immediately that we have some issues with it overlapping. Okay, fine, but let's focus on the actual inks, shall we? Black looks great. Right over here is actually a yellow, which you cannot ever really see, but just know that it's hopefully there. But notice here, this big gap, those are our whites. And notice here, your magenta and your cyan are also missing some bars. So a proper head cleaning once or twice, and I found that 2 times on a head cleaning will always fix this for me typically. Now, guys, you wanna hear something really cool? I can actually reuse this. Let me show you why. I'm gonna put it back in, but this time I'm gonna put it in with the text facing to the left, like so that when it comes down and it prints all of the nozzle check again, this time I'm getting max use out of my scrap piece of paper. All right, so we already did a nozzle check, so now we're going to want to do a head cleaning. So we're going to also right click and we're gonna go down to head cleaning. And once again, hit yes. Now it's going to take the printer and it's going to start cleaning the nozzles. You can hear it. Also, when this happens, the green light on the front, the power button, will start flashing. When that is done flashing, that is how you know it is done doing a head cleaning. Once again, I have realized that for myself personally, so this might be the case for a lot of other people, whenever I have this shut down for days, I do everything I need to do as far as starting it up goes, but I have to always do 2 head cleanings and 2 nozzle checks, and usually after that, they're good to go. Now, I would like to tell you something about the backside here. This is the waste ink, guys. Very important that it does not touch this guy here. This tube cannot touch this ink that's inside of there. So what I just did was I raised it up a little bit to make sure of that. This is getting pretty high, so I will tell you that I will take that out and I will dump it. Do not put it down your drain. I have an extra bottle that I pour this ink into, and then eventually I will dispose of it when it's nice and full. All right, guys, looks like it's done with its first head cleaning, and how can I tell? Because the green light is completely solid now. It's no longer flashing. So once again, we're going to come back over to this screen. I did brighten the screen up for you guys a little bit. I'm sorry, it might have been dull before. We're gonna right click again. We're going to go down to nozzle check, which is also just F11. We're going to hit yes after we do the nozzle check. And it's going to reprint out on that same piece of paper, because remember, I am recycling it. And now we get to see what that head cleaning did for us. Remember, that sound means it's done. I'm gonna put my hand in just a little bit to grab the paper, bring it out. And remember, guys, it's this one down here. Remember, it's always the one on the bottom, not this one. So if you take a look at this again, you can see that once again, my cyan looks much better, the magenta looks better, but we still don't have that white, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one more head cleaning, but not before, just in case, because we did sit here and wait a little bit, not before my white gets shooken up again. I'm gonna give another quick shake to this white. So, a big, huge con, something that this is exactly what I was talking about, where when you close the lid, if you don't watch closely, your cords could get caught. So please, please, once again, watch for that. Notice for mine. Oh, guys, this is a great example. Look at that. That just got stuck. So we're going to push that down. I'm going to go back, right click, head clean again, and once again, hit yes once done. So you can see over there, the little green light is solid, which means I can go back to doing another nozzle check. We're going to right click again and go down to nozzle check. Hit that yes. Oh, okay. This time it popped it out. Let's take a look, guys. All right. If you can see closely, cyan looks great. Magenta looks great. And now look at my whites. They're almost there. They're still missing a little bit. It looks like black. It looks great. And I can never see the yellow, guys. So I'm just going to assume yellow looks good. Even down here printed out nicely as well. Okay. So what I might do, I hate to do it, but I have 2 options. I can either do another head cleaning or I can take a chance and I can start printing out the whites. I think I'm going to do just one more head cleaning just to be safe. So I'll put that back in for the next nozzle check. And I'm going to head clean one more time. I do think the biggest pro about this printer is that it's going to make you money, guys. That's the biggest pro. Like, that's it. Another pro, it's affordable, you know, so if somebody who's a first timer, not really sure where to go, you know, this is a great investment. Right now, as we stand, I've had this definitely since November, and I've already made my money back. It's now January. I've made my money. This printer's paid off. Like, if that makes any sense. I've made enough money with this printer. It's paid off. So now this is just an extra asset to my business. So we are done over there with the head cleaning. So once again, we're going to do one last nozzle check. And guys, I'm going to be able to print after this. So nozzle check, right click, yes, left click, and we'll go over and check that out. In fact, I keep all of my scraps in a like clear bin container like so. And this works out really nicely, guys, for me. Let's check that out and see. I can see the white on there. Everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Remember, anywhere on the screen, right click on your mouse, open. And now I'm going to choose the new one, anti-cropped. We're going to open that up. Perfect. Now, one of the first things that you want to get in the habit of doing now, when you open your program, you're going to have these 4 little buttons down here. I hope you guys can see my mouse. 4 little buttons down here: layout, printer, color, and white. This is in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Start with your layout option first. You want to always, first thing, before you forget, because you don't want to waste your film or your ink, go right up to the mirror button, which is the 2 triangles right up against each other. One is black looking, one is white looking, and when you hold your cursor over top of it, it will say mirror. And go ahead and click that, guys. You need all of your images to be mirrored. All these buttons here at the top, just play around, I'll show you. So this just right here throws this image into the top left corner of the screen, which it's already there. This one goes to the top right corner of the screen. This one here does the center to the page. I find that this is a waste of extra film, so that's why I prefer the left or the right. This one's going to center it to the page, which is really silly because, once again, so much wasted space. This one is going to center it completely in the center of the page. This one is going to rotate it. And then there's a print option on here, but I do not do print for quite some time. So I'm going to go back to keeping it the way it was. So I'm re-rotating it and putting it back into the left-hand corner. Over to the right-hand side here of the layout screen, you're going to see all the different stuff. The default settings for this paper is 11.811 by 16.535. That is where your paper should stay. This is an A3 size printer, not an A3 plus. It's very important to know. You have your output position, X, Y, all that stuff. You can just leave that right where it is at 0. You don't have to mess with that. You have your output size, your width, and your height. So right now, it automatically loaded this design to be at 9.56 of a width and 9.507 of a height. This box here, where it says equal proportion, the scale, true to size. So anytime that I move this, I'm going to take the little box here and just drag this. It's going to keep it proportionately sized. If I unclick this and hit false, now watch what happens. I can go this way, I can go this way, and then I can mess with this however I want, guys. And I have taken certain images, and I have actually done that. I have taken certain images, and I have gone ahead, and I have made them wider or longer or skinnier. But as of recent, I have really been keeping everything true to size. Now watch what happens. Boom. It goes right back. Once you hit true, you can go back and mess with it again. I've been keeping everything true to size. This way the images are not disproportioned or anything like that. Now down here is really cool. Right below this is where you can repeat. So say this was going to be a really small logo, okay, on the front of a shirt. And you're going to be printing out a whole bunch of them because maybe you have a storefront or maybe you have a vendor show or a customer bought a whole bunch. The way that you can repeat this, so the X will be off to the side. So if you hit up to go to, it's going to add an extra image. Can you guys see that over here? An extra image. If you go Y, it's going to add an extra image down below. Now you can't see it, and I'm going to explain to you why. The next 2 boxes are going to be how far away the image is from the original image. So X goes for anything to the side, right, guys? So if I change the sizing of this to just be like a 0.01 and hit enter. Look at that. Now it's right up against each other. You might not want it to be that close up against each other. You might want a little bit of space so that you can cut it easily. So I think, look at that, a 0.20 is nice spacing. And if I did a 3, it would do it again. So you get the most use out of this. Something that I will teach you guys, I do not like the images bumped up to the edge anymore. For some reason on my printer, it is cutting them off. So I go ahead and I click on the image and I just kind of hit my arrow button over just a little bit. You don't got to go crazy, but just a little bit. And I kind of do that with the top, guys. I get paranoid. I just want a little bit of space from the top to the bottom so that it doesn't cut it off. Okay. Now, that is the X repeat. So the X repeat goes to the side and you want to change the spacing to something more doable that you are comfortable with. Now the Y spacing, remember how you can't see the one extra that's down below? That's because it's so far away, guys. So I'm going to also hit a 0.20 for the Y spacing, and boom, there they are. They came back up from the bottom. Now we want to figure out how big do we want this? And this is up to you guys. I am putting these on shirts that are 2 or 3X, which means I want this as big as it will physically let me get it, okay? So with that being said, I am going to take this and drag this until I feel like I'm right at the edge. Remember what I told you guys, I don't like to go right to the edge because in case it cuts off. So right now it's telling me that the biggest that it can make it with it working on this paper is 11.479 width and 11.415 height, okay? So what if I wanted it bigger? Well, I could make it bigger, but then watch what I would have to do. I would have to change my true, which is the scale equal proportion, to false, and I would have to take the image and I'm now stretching it out. Okay? It doesn't look bad, guys. It can work, absolutely, but once again, I like keeping my images true to proportion just because I feel like it looks better. Now, another con to this program, to everything, is I learned a trick, guys. You cannot print the last 2 inches on the sheet. With that being said, you need to make sure you get it right to the 14 mark and you're going to stop. Now, if you look here on the screen, it says that it's actually at a 14.081, but luckily you can see that the print off is right before that. The image itself is at 14.081 because of that extra blank space, but the actual printing part is not. So we should be good to go for that. We're going to move on now, guys, to the printer tab. Once you click the printer tab, you're going to notice right away that all of your bars at the top where it shows you that you can move all of these images around are always going to be up there. It's not just something that's only on the layout tab. This is on all of the tabs. It is going to have presets that you're just going to leave and you're not going to mess with. So for example, printer is already on stylus L1800. You want to leave it there. You don't want to mess around with that. Port is already where it needs to be at USB 001. Epson L1800. You have the check paper size off. You do not need that. Setup is going to be important. I would have 1440 by 1440 DPI checked for both resolution white and resolution color. Your feeding is important. You need to make sure whatever your printer is that you're using the right feeding. For example, I am a sheet printing. There is the same printer that I have comes in a roll. So if you were a roll sheet, you would just hit the roll feed. Notice I'm hitting the drop down boxes and changing that. Bi-direction is the speed. That is the speed that we recommend. I feel that bi-direction actually goes much faster than unidirection. When you first get this printer, they're going to tell you to put it in unidirection left to right. I have stopped doing that because I find that bi-direction goes way faster, and that's even an understatement, guys, because the term way faster in this situation is like crazy to say because this is not the fastest the printers, okay? Wave, I've never messed with. I just leave wave off. And then this part here is very important. So your white dot size and your color dot size. I used to use medium and large, but I stopped using that and I just use mix and I find that it works really well. So I'm cool with leaving it right there. All you really do on this tab, guys, is you just double check to make sure that nothing got moved from, say, turning off your computer or whatever the case is. Sometimes that can happen. Sometimes things can get moved around. We're going to now go into the color tab down the bottom. Up in the print setting box, you would want to make sure that you have hit the DTF 1800. When you do this, what's going to happen is it's automatically going to put on the setting that they want you to use. But here's where I found that some things need to be changed. And let me give you an example. The white. I like my white to be at 100% almost all the time. The last projects that I made, I did have my white at about 65%. If your numbers, your percentages are lower, the color will be lighter. If it is higher, the color will be darker. So what does that mean? When your white is only at 60% or 65% or 50%, it's not going to be as strong and it will be more see-through. All right, guys, here's an example of what I mean. When you look at this image had not a lot of white on it. Okay, so it's very thin, which means that you can see the image through this a lot. Now, when I pressed this didn't affect it, but there is plenty of designs that it could affect it with. But I'm gonna show you the difference now when you actually make the white darker. Let's look at that and see how much darker that makes that. And I promise you that this is much darker in real life. But you can see the car on the right way more than you can see the car on the left. And that's why it's important, I feel, to always have your inks for your whites be at 100%. But just know that when you do 100% on your inks, you are using more ink. You are releasing more ink. That's pretty much what you're doing. You're releasing more ink, okay? So if you keep your ink release overall to 65, I think that's the basic doable, you know, one. That's the one that they recommend, obviously. You can leave all your settings here at the 80s and whatnot, but I definitely would change your white ink to be at 100%. Down below, though, there's a lot of different settings here. And guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is where I would love for somebody to see this video and say, well, that's what this is for. And you know what? Well, then can you make a video and can you explain it a little bit better? Because that's the problem I'm running into. There's nobody out there that can do so. I haven't seen anybody yet. I actually have no clue how to even utilize this button or what to do with this section here. So I don't even mess with it. Now down below, I will tell you, I was able to mess a little bit with the brightness and the contrast. The image I just showed you a second ago actually had a little bit of a contrast to it to make it a different look to it. And it worked nicely. Now, if you get a setting that you know that you like, so for example, if I actually go back through some of my settings, okay, some of my images, you're going to start seeing all different settings, guys. You're going to see, look, a 75% ink release, 100%. You're going to see another 75. Okay, that's fine. Let's see, what's this one? This one's probably way different. Yep, this one I did as dark as I possibly could because I lightened the image. So as dark as I possibly could. Like, look how dark I made everything on this because I needed to. Now, when you get an image. Now this one's way different, guys. This one is your basic ink release, but look, you'll see 100% of the ink, but you'll see my ink levels for the colors themselves are actually lighter. It's just the way that this printed out properly for me. But we're going to go back. I hope this isn't too confusing. Once you have a setting that you like, say you're like, hey, this is for this specific one here, you can actually save your setting and you can call it whatever you want. And then what happens is it stays up here in this box for you to be able to choose whenever you want. So you can see down here, I found some colors that worked for all of my Thanksgiving shirts, so I labeled it Good Thanksgiving Colors. This is the gentleman whose design I just had in the air a second ago. So he had two different images. He actually preferred the dark one, so that's the one I used for his prints. There was a different setting for, look right here, I had cruise shirts that I made that were bright colors. So I just kind of put that in there. So in case I ever have those bright colors again, I know that I could possibly use that setting again. So you can save it so it's quick for you to go back into. Just a little tip, whatever your setting is on your last image will be automatically applied to your next image that's opened. So if you do not want that same setting for all of your images, that's where you have to go in and change it around. All right, so I'm gonna leave this at 65% for overall ink release. and have the colors be darker, and we're going to see what that does, guys. These colors might actually be too dark because I'm going to show you an example. Remember this one? Remember how the colors were at 40s and then 30s? This might have to be changed to be 40s and 30s, but we're going to print it first and we're going to test it out. This is the only way you can figure out trial and error, guys. Trial and error. This is how I figured out colors myself. So going back to the color tab, like I said, you can play around with brightness, you can play around with contrast, you can hit them and see what they do for you. This last one here, ICC profile, they are supposed to make your colors be more true to what's on the screen. All right, guys, once you have your colors figured out, we're going to go to the last tab here, which is your whites. So what they're going to show you is to always keep it 100% white under any color pixel. You want to keep that checked at all times like that. And guys, I don't mess with anything else on here. So once again, there may be reasons for you to use these. I hope that this, you know, I'm not setting you up for failure, but so far it hasn't failed me. I don't use any of this. The only thing I use this tab for is I just mess around right here to make sure that this print looks right, and I'll show you what I mean. I don't even use anything down here either, guys. They're going to tell you to change these boxes when you first get this printer to, like, I think 2, and I just didn't do that. So when this is doing is this is showing me a preview of what this image will look like with the color. Here's what it will look like with the white. So this is all of the white ink, guys. So remember how DTF works is it lays down the ink first, the color ink, and then it goes back over with the white. Okay, the way that I have it printing, that's what it does. So this is how all of the whites should look. This is how the color should look, and this is a preview overall. So when you're looking at this preview, it's because I decided to make the background black. If I had a different background, you would see the black bars coming through, but this is everything. This is the only thing I'd use it for. I just use it for a preview, and that's it. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started with the printing process. So I'm going to right click on my mouse, and I'm going to go to print. This is very, very important when this comes up. Normally when you hit print, box over here will have a 0 in it where the color setting is, and your white and color box will be unchecked. You need to make sure that you have a 1 in your color setting copies area, and you want to make sure that you then click white and color after you're done there. When you do that, then you can hit print. When you hit print, it's going to take a little bit of time for it to start sending the file over to the printer. This is why it's very important that the cord that goes from the back of the printer to your laptop does not get disconnected. It will not work if it gets disconnected, guys. So it usually has 2 boxes come up. That's the first one. This is the second one. Once the second one is done, it will start printing. All right, guys, so it is starting to print. So here's what you got going on. So right away you can see that the black is what comes out first. What's going to start to happen is you're going to start seeing the white follow. If I don't see white come out shortly, I know that this print is messed up and I need to shake back up my white and I need to try again. There's the white, guys. So we're good to go. So now I'm going to close this up and I'm going to let this do its job. I'm not going to interfere with it. 4 hours later, just kidding, and the design is all done. All right, so this is 100% white, okay, and this has a very high setting as far as colors being dark goes, the black being really dark. So we're gonna flip this over now. Be careful, you do not touch this. This is wet. You don't want to wait all that time for this and then all of a sudden this whole image is shot. So this is going to be hard for me to do, but I'm going to flip it over gently. And I am going to start observing these colors and I'm going to see what I think before I decide if I want to print again. Here is the final image. Here I go trying to get the corners. All right, look at those colors, guys. They look great to me. Now, they look good, but I will tell you that there's 3 colors that I'm concerned about. My orange in the top corner here and the 2 other colors down below. I think they're supposed to be purples. While it's still wet, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I've had stuff actually sit for a little while and still was able to cure it, but you guys can do this almost immediately as soon as it comes out. You do not have to wait. But You want to get your powder, as you saw in my first video with my room tour and, you know, how to make the most of your small space. I have my powder now in a bin. This bin is from IKEA. It was probably about like $12 or $13. It's nice and deep so that when I'm putting the powder on it, it doesn't get all over. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this up now because we're going to be using it. Very careful that you do not get your fingers on the ink. I have done that numerous times. So guys, you're just going to go in, scoop up some of the ink, or the powder, excuse me. You're going to scoop up some of the powder on the transfer, and you're just going to start moving it back and forth, making sure that it hits over top of all of the ink on the paper. If you feel like it might not have hit all of it, go back and do it again. It's okay, it's not going to hurt it. Now, something that I do once I'm all done is while this paper is nicely inside of the bin, I give a light tap going around to really make sure that no chunks or clunks or anything is left on it. Notice that I'm still not touching this because it is still wet. Then after the powder is on there, and you want to now put it inside of your oven. My oven was not turned on yet because I wanted to show you guys how this works. There is a switch on the back that you just click on, very similar to the DTF switch. And there's buttons on the front that you can adjust the time and temp. So in particular for the paper and the ink that I use, the time and temp that I use 220 seconds, and I use a temp of 140 degrees, okay? This is a Celsius, so that's what it comes up, 140 degrees Celsius. Once you see your correct temperature in the corner, you're good to go with putting the DTF print in the oven. So here is the oven. This comes with the machine. If you choose to have it, there is some options where you can buy it without. I highly recommend buying it with. This one's very easy to set. You would just hit the set button, and then you can go up or down, you know, right here. And then once you choose your number that you want to be at, you just hit set again. Same thing with the bottom. Okay, so right now this is fine where it's at. So 140 degrees Celsius at 220 seconds is the setting for my particular stuff, my particular paper. So that is important. Please read your instructions for what your paper and your powder tells you to do. There's both a paper and a powder setting. So you got to watch, come up with like a happy medium. Usually you can always find somewhere in between. This is what the inside looks like. Of course, this is a big hot plate, so please be careful not to burn yourself. Okay, so my oven is preheated to 140 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to go ahead and put the print in. Be very careful. Close the lid. Now, what you guys won't be able to see, so I'm going to bring you guys over. So what you guys don't get a chance to see after I do this, the image just went inside the oven. I closed it. You want to hit right here where it says timing start. Timing will start, and it counts down. Once you're all done here, it will start flashing. In order for this beeping to stop, you just want to hit the timing start button again and take out your stuff. Okay. Be very careful. It is hot, guys. I just use my fingernail real fast and I lift up. Also, be careful when pulling them off. Do not get them caught. If they fold up and they touch, you can really ruin the image because it's still kind of tacky a little bit. You can touch it, but it's tacky where it will stick together. What this looks like after it's done and cured, it should look like an orange peel. So you can see there, I hope so at least, you guys can see that like orangey peel effect. You would take this and then I press it on my heat press at 320 degrees for just 20 seconds. And it's very simple. You just lay it down. I actually use tape, but I will tell you guys a trick. You cannot lay heat tape over top of anywhere that has ink. So you have to be careful. So in this case, that's why it is not a bad idea, unless you feel like you're really good at doing this, to push this in more and not have it be so large, because now I don't have a whole lot of room to place my tape. So I'll probably tape in the corners, on the side here, and then obviously I'll cut off some of this excess to use this for scraps, and then I'll tape down the bottom as well. I found that when you tape over top of this, even though you can touch this side all you want because there's no ink, the ink's on this side, when you do the tape over top of the ink, it actually doesn't press because it's heat tape, so it's resistant. So pull it out from underneath of the heat press once it's done, because it will never cool down otherwise. And then once you feel it nice and cool to the touch, you can go ahead and peel it off. And I'm talking, you can like rip that thing off like a Band-Aid. It's pretty cool, actually. If it has any sort of warmth to it still whatsoever, please do not peel it off. You are going to peel off some of the ink. And I don't want y'all coming for me saying, Miss Ma'am, you told me that I can peel it off like a Band-Aid. Yes, it has to be cool to the touch, okay? Then you can peel it off like a Band-Aid. And then what you need to do is, once it is peeled off, the PET film can be thrown away. You do need to repress it one more time. My video unfortunately cut off here for some reason, so just want to come on here to let you know that when you do repress it for the second time, it's going to be for the same time and the same temperature as before, but you want to make sure you do have a piece of Teflon sheet over top of it, just like you did for your first press. That is really it as far as how to use the printer and how to use the program and how to use the oven and how to use the powder and how to press them. But just to reiterate, guys, all of your pros and all of your cons for the DSV L1800 by Amazon. So what is your biggest takeaway pro? Your biggest takeaway pro, like I told you guys, is no matter all the little minor defects, you are going to still make good money on this printer. And it's a great beginner tool, guys. I now get a chance to see what I'm supposed to do with DTF, so that now when the time comes and I'm ready to now upgrade, even if I wanted to upgrade today to something bigger and better and more money, I feel confident in doing so, because now I got my feet wet. I know what I'm doing for the most part. It is affordable, so the ink, the paper, the ink, everything's pretty affordable in my opinion. You know, how much money you get, like 100 sheets for cheap. So I mean, really, in all actuality, those sheets are probably costing me a couple cents each. So I'm really not, I'm not losing out on any money there too much. I'm actually pretty pleased with how little ink does not get used, even at 100%. I mean, I'm not using like ink like crazy for my white, so I'm pretty pleased with that. You can make any design you want. There's no more weeding. No more weeding. Now, the cons. There's a lot. And there's a lot because I guess you get what you pay for. It's cheap. It's probably cheap for a reason. So in my opinion, personal opinion, because somebody else might have this, somebody else might be watching this and be like, ma'am, I do not have any of those issues. You have something wrong with your printer. You need to get it looked at. Cool, dude. So I have come to find that I do not like that you're not allowed to really turn it off because of the fact that it can clog. I hate that with my printer, you have to shake the ink and do a head cleaning after it sits for about 10 minutes because it won't print out the white. I hate that the colors are not always correct. I hate how long it takes to print out. One of the other cons is that, like I said, this is not an American-based company that you're buying this from. This is an overseas company, and they are located, I believe, out in China. And because of that, what happens is when you're in the United States, you cannot talk to them until it is like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and you have to have a WhatsApp. So if you don't have a WhatsApp, you got to get a WhatsApp. I will tell you a bit of advice, and this is up to you guys. Take my advice with a grain of salt, whatever you want to do. But they will try to tap into your computer, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am not a fan of that, and I have avoided that at all costs. They have asked me a few times, okay, well, can you please tell me, you know, click this link and it will let me go into your computer, and I just have kind of ignored them whenever they have done that, and that's where I got a little weirded out, and I've just figured things out on my own, either by trying to Google and see if anybody had anything on Google or on YouTube. But I'm telling you, it is very few and far between videos that you can find for this actual printer. So I'm really hoping that my video comes to somebody who just got it, who is like, oh my god, I don't know what to do, and they see my video and are like, thank you Jesus, this woman's a godsend, because that's how I would feel if I stumbled upon this video a couple months back. So, but yes, that is another con, guys, is that they have different time zones than you, and the language barrier makes it a little bit harder to get in touch with them. One thing that you could do, guys, is you can go on Facebook and you can join a DTF support group And, you know, any issues that you have, you can always post them there. And I will tell you that you will get a lot of help in there sometimes. Overall, if I had to say yes or no, was this a good purchase? Was this not a good purchase? You know, I'm kind of in the middle, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's a great purchase. If you liked what you saw today and you felt like it was really informational, then please help me out. Like the video, hit the subscribe button down below, and hit that bell too while you're at it for a little ding-a-ling-ling notification whenever I post a new video. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for staying with me this entire time. I know my videos can be lengthy. I'm happy to have you guys with me. You guys are the real OGs. I'll talk to you later.